All right, hello everyone and welcome to the panel discussion session for Sri Lanka, conducted as a part of the Global Cell Science Institute 2021 virtual conference. I'm Dr. Manoshi Samaraweera. I'm an associate professor here at University of Central Oklahoma. I am very excited to talk to my four panelists today. They're all from Sri Lanka. First and foremost, we have Mr. Rashmika Piris, who's the business director at MAS Active. Next, we have Mr. Aravinda Pereira, general manager at Access Lifestyles Private Limited. We also have Dr. Dinesh Hamangoda, general manager sales at Hemas Consumer Brands. And then Mr. Ravi Dikune, head of marketing and sales at Prima Salon Private Limited. All of them have a wealth of experience in sales, and this session from Sri Lanka will give you some insights on how professional selling and the sales function is conducted in a small developing country such as Sri Lanka. Gentlemen, first and foremost, thank you very much for taking time off your busy schedule to come talk to us today. I really appreciate this. So let's go ahead and start our discussion. Let's begin by briefly introducing yourselves, and then we can move on to the questions. Rashmika, if you want to start us off, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you for that introduction. And first of all, thank you very much for giving this opportunity. And for sure, it will be a wonderful conversation is going to be for the next 1.5 hours or so. With that, my name is Rashmika Piris. I'm the business director for MAS Active, which is the subsidiary of MAS Holdings, the company which produce active lifestyle and active sportswear for MAS back in Sri Lanka. And also our size of the business is $2 billion top line revenue. And we associate with fabulous people of 97,000 in our company. And also we are in 16 countries. We've been truly a global player, even though we are headquartered and housed in Sri Lanka. And also we use technology and we use doing lifestyle products for our company. And our sales force is about, in my company, in the sales force, about 30 to 40, specialized in doing sales, and then taking about 100 individuals supporting the sales arm of $350 million, which my company is responsible out of $2 billion.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. That's very good. Aravinda, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Aravinda Pereira. I'm the general manager of Access Lifestyle, one of the subsidiaries of Access Group of companies. Access Group established in 1989 with a sales force of 3,000. Access Lifestyle was established in 1998, and the current sales force is 10. Altogether, we have 35 employees. Access Lifestyle, we are focused on distributing world-renowned bathroom fittings and kitchen cabinet solutions provided. And I have been working in Access for the last 19 years.
All right, very good. Dinesh, you want to take it?
Yeah.
From here? Yeah.
Very much, Manoshi, for giving me this opportunity. I'm Dinesh Hamangoda. I work as the capacity of general manager sales of Hemas Consumer Brands, one of the flagship companies under Hemas conglomerate, one of the Sri Lanka's leading conglomerates. So when it comes to the size of the company, it's approximately 90 million USD, and we have 13 popular brands in Sri Lanka, especially in the FMCG category, and we are operating in 27 categories. If you getting to know Velvet, Flowguard, Fems, all our consumer brands. And when it comes to the sales force, we have approximately 784 people working in the field actively. So when it comes to Hemas Consumer, I would say that's the number 2 personal and home care company in Sri Lanka. head to head, competing with, top class, world class multinationals working in Sri Lanka. So that's about my company. Thanks.
Thank you. And Ravi?
First of all, thank you, Manoshi, for this opportunity. And I think it's a great privilege to come on board on this Global Sales Science Institute annual conference forum. So I am Ravi Dikunya. I work as the head of sales and marketing for Prima Ceylon Private Limited. So Prima is a group of companies based from Singapore, and we are about a $250 million business in Sri Lanka. And we do have the jewel in Sri Lanka because we have one of the state-of-the-art the wheat milling and distribution facilities in the country, and it is one of the world's one of the largest factories currently located in Sri Lanka. So coming back to the point of the sales force, it's a very systematic sales the force we have got in Sri Lanka, and we have got about 100 plus the DSRs, and about directly working under me about 35 the sales personnel in the capacities of sales managers, field sales managers, and area sales managers. So in all, about 135 is my the strength of the team. So that's about myself, and looking forward for some great questions, and yeah, willing to kind of share some expertise about Sri Lanka for the viewers.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all. So let's go ahead and move on to the panel questions, if I may. First of all, so let's go in the same order as we did the introductions. First of all, can you briefly describe the selling function within your company, and then in terms of like how you do it, like markets, customers, and competitors? Just a brief introduction of your products and services, the selling function as in general, a brief introduction to it, please. Go ahead, Rashmika.
All right. So to begin with, MAS is a B2B company. So we don't kind of have any sales or marketing activities out of our manufacturing locations, predominantly on the Asian side of the business. So the sales function is currently, because that we create our own product, we actually have to be integrated into the entire value stream, which is starting from the concept, design, product innovation, and then going all the way up to the product development and manufacturing. So to have the effective sales, so it has to be closely integrated. Otherwise, we wouldn't know what is our product and why we created that beautiful product that we always wanted to get into the consumer. And also the knowledge of the sales force has to be not predominantly on products someone else manufactured, because we are going to manufacture our own product. So therefore, it has to be in a complete end-to-end manufacturing knowledge has to have for a proper sales force. Otherwise, what will happen is then the point of sale is going to be somewhat not so sure, or it will have some other repel effect, I would say. So therefore, the functioning of the current sales force has two elements. One is a tech marketing element. Other one is a push through on the sales. Current sales force, as I said, particularly for MAS activities, a $350 million business, it is only 30. Why? It is because we create that product and then we get it all the way up to the manufacturing process, and individuals that you work in terms of product has to have a customer understanding and continuously on the product, which is from overall viewpoint of view, because that's where that whole thing works. Our fashion, we are in the fashion industry, so therefore it won't easily necessarily can be like, okay, we create the product and then it will be sold. It won't work like that. So therefore, it is somewhat the design teams will have to be, the sales teams have to be inculcate with the processes, which is product innovation, design, development, and then supply chain and material management, all of that put together. And then only we can actually take the sales to get into wherever we want to be, including the costing. So the cost engineers have to be sales people. So that is how we actually describe our sales function right now. But moreover, I would say more than the sales, we do have the tech marketing, technical marketing oriented as in a sales function. So that's how I would like to describe the current MAS active sales force.
Perfect, perfect. Aravinda?
Yes. All right, selling function. Access Lifestyle is a sales-driven company. It's a small, medium profit center. And in our company, we have 5 profit-making divisions. First would be projects and distributors, flagship showroom, interior solutions, basically for kitchen cabinets, and we have the plumbing solutions. So basically, B2B sales would be the projects and the distributors. Other than that, the rest of the 3 would be direct sales. So that would be the basic selling functions.
Thank you. Dinesh?
Yeah. Manoshi, basically in FMCG, including our company, I would like to segregate the selling function into 2 main pillars. One is the sell-in function. Sell-in means that we make sure our product is available on time in adequate quantity and adequate quality for consumers to come and pick. Maybe it can be a point of purchase in a supermarket, in a retailer shop, maybe in an e-commerce platform, whatever. So main factors it will determine will be distributor management, and it will be product listing, cash and credit management, then the negotiations, training, sales training, relationship management. So many factors determining the sales in function. Then once we put the product in the selling platform, of course we have a marketing function. Marketing is basically is the driving factor to get the pull from the point of purchase. But more than that, as sales, we have another function called sales out. That means once the salesman put the product on the shelf, that is one of our key functions, we have to make sure that that products are moved out of the shelf. Even the marketing function doesn't do that. We'll have to make sure through our activities that products are pulled out from the shelf. That will include display and merchandising, shopper marketing, then sampling, beauty advisor, thematic promotion, lots of stuff. So these 2 functions are the key pillars in the FMCG front. If you want to perform in reality, you can't get away from just putting the product in the shelf. You have to make sure, through shopper marketing activities, these products are pulled. Second thing is when it comes to the market, mainly FMCG, any person who consumes a personal care product or a home care product will be our, consumer. So if you consider our market, it will be total FMCG, personal care and home care market in Sri Lanka. So we operate in many categories. We have personal wash, we have skin care, oral care, hair care, feminine hygiene, female and male grooming, hand sanitizing. So many categories are there. Competitors will be Unilever Sri Lanka, Nature Secret, in ICA. Customer. So in FMCG, we have customer, we have consumer, and we have shopper. So shopper means the people who go and pick product from the shelf or maybe from the e-commerce platforms. Consumer will be real person who is really touching and feeling and consuming. And customer we define any person any institute, a person who buys product from us, maybe for reselling or distribution purpose. So that's how we define consumer, shopper, and the customer.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for that. Ravi, do you want to describe the selling function within your company along with markets and customers?
Yeah, I think let me build on what Dinesh said. Onto that, let me build a perspective from a B2B segment, how Prima operates in Sri Lanka. So as you know, we are mainly a B2B entity. So what do I mean by this? It is simply because our basic product is a wheat flour. So we have got in our portfolio about 45 different brands of wheat flour. When you take wheat flour is flour, but there are different grades of wheat flour that goes to different applications by customers. So having said that, in the B2B segment, we are the category leaders or the category captain, and we hold about 75% of the market share in the the B2B segment. And if I look at our customers can be categorized as our main customer, our heart is the bakers of the country, the bakery industry. And there are more than 5,000 bakers in the country. So we have to service them directly or indirectly depending on their locality and as well as the mediums. So apart from that, we also have a wholesale channel. So that is where we use, like Dinesh said, because if you want to get the width of or the reach of to the customers, we are using, because we are using we have a bulky product. Unlike a small packeted product, it is a 50 kg or a 25 kg sack. So the distribution, every move means a cost. So therefore, we have to optimize the reach and the frequency and the availability accordingly. So we use the indirect channel via the wholesale route to service these the end customers. So apart from that, we also service. We are the primary ingredient supplier for entire biscuit industry, the noodles industry, pasta industry, and even plywood industry. So many of these industries are using wheat flour as a primary ingredient for their products or their applications. So having said that, I would consider, after petroleum in Sri Lanka, wheat flour milling and distribution is one of the most complex go-to-market models in the country. And why do I say is because of the package size that we are dealing with. So this is one part of my business, and the other part is the sales function goes into the B2C segment. So we also do have a 1 kg and 5 kg products targeting the consumers. So to reach the consumer, we have to go to the retail channel and the modern trade channel, that is the supermarkets and the standalone supermarkets. So we have to make our products available there. So if I summarize in one line, our entire selling function, we are big in the B2B arena, but we do have a strong footing into the retail segment or the B2C segment also, with our what we call them as variety flour with consumer offerings. So that is an overall kind of a perspective about the selling function at Prima in Sri Lanka.
Wonderful, thank you. So as you can see, we have a variety in terms of our panel. Some of them are pure B2B companies where they sell to other businesses directly. Some of them have sort of two or more than two arms in their business, one selling B2B, the other selling B2C. I think a majority of the companies or our panelists are working in roles where they have both the B2C element in business as well as the B2B element in business. But I think that's great that we have this variety, and the types of products that they sell are vastly different as well. So it's going to be an interesting conversation on how these various different companies selling various different products, having various different selling functions or sales structures, navigate this whole professional selling aspects of the job. So let's move on to talk more about your salespeople and the selling function in general. Okay. So yes, let's move on to the next question. We are going to talk about salespeople within in your companies and how you recruit them. First, let's talk about how you would recruit them, hire them, and then let's also discuss a little bit about how you train them once they come into the company. Rashmika, if you want to take the first attempt at it. So salespeople within your company, how you recruit them, what's the hiring process, and then once they're hired, how do you train them?
Okay. So as you know, we are truly a manufacturer, and then we create our own product solution. So it has two elements. Before I move into that, our market is predominantly North America, which is Canada and US based, which is about 70%, 75%. And then Europe also have a certain customer segments, which gives a relatively good revenue. And we see with the sports and then with the lifestyle changing, even the Asian markets are going to be very much important. Like we all know how big the China can be. That being said, but then we have to differentiate our own offerings because it could be one or two elements. For example, sizing in our product has to be changed. The way that we do the coloring and the way that we kind of do the designs have to be changed. So based on those elements, our sales force and our technical people, whoever we bring into the whole organization is differ. So can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You just like, shaking here and there. So I would sector into two, how we basically onboard our sales force, and then how we kind of train them and navigate them to be a market segment. So the recruitment process, ideally speaking, we have locally a transmit system, which is from the universities of Sri Lanka as well as from the industry that we are in. For example, the manufacturing industry. And then we get them on a platform where we get in on-the-job training with a systematic approach to understand how the customer and the product mix works. In that, there are two elements that we work with. Number one is like, for example, if I get on a person who is having a experience, if I may quickly take you through the non-experience, we would rather give the end-to-end value stream experience, like product concepts, then innovation, product newness piece, design, development, supply chain, fabric, manufacturing, including the planning and functionalities, because they need to understand how important these functions to sell the product. Otherwise, they wouldn't know. So predominantly for a salesperson in our organization, we start with the merchandising function. So when I say merchandising function, it is not the visual merchandising that we talk about. Merchandising function, it has to be someone who will be coordinate in the product, who understand the product, and then you basically get into the manufacturing as well. So you have to keep the promise to the customers. Otherwise, you won't be able to get the sales through. So we give them and then we convert them back to the marketing and sales orientation when they kind of finish that process, because then they will have an understanding of how they can manage end to end. Because when we take a purchase order, we have to deliver our promise. When we deliver our promise, we should know what's our product. So selling is equally important to finish the product and then deliver our promise. So that's how we actually classified into two. But if I get an experienced person, that will be trained very differently, because then we need to understand the purpose of the hiring. And then when we hire, it will be more of getting them to kind of build the business strategy, business development, and then the leadership functions will come into play. Because relationship with North American business and then the brands in the world, renowned brands like very, very big brands, it is very much important, the unique selling proposition we bring it to overall. It could be from a leadership point of view, it could be from a strategic viewpoint of view, it could be from the overall element of the company. Otherwise, what will happen is like you can only do once, twice, the customers will find an alternative because they feel there isn't an alternative. So in our selling, in our onboarding process is a very much tedious process that we do, and we have about 3 months onboarding process in each and every process to understand the better way to get the sales team. Even though we have we'll say we have the great salespeople, we won't just put them into the market, or we don't put them into in front of the customer. We train them in a manner that we will be able to get them to go and visit the customer or understand the customer better and then do that. So it is a bit of a, I would say, internal, and it's more of we give an opportunity to localize universities and institutes. And of course, people who have come from overseas have been always part of our journey. But that being said, we would like to get the technical people convert into tech marketing oriented people, because what will happen is it's a very rare match. Some are great in selling, but then they are not great in understanding the product. So what we have done is we have gone backward, and then we have actually have given that opportunity for our technical people who demonstrate the training. So in that element, I would say, I would like to conclude saying it is more of a robust system that we have, with a fresher, a newcomer, and a manager and a leadership at a very different level.
Got it. Got it. Thank you for that. Aravinda, do you want to talk about hiring and training of your salespeople at your company?
Yeah, sure. Access Lifestyle, definitely we have a niche market. So who are the people who are looking for high brands and reputed brands will definitely come to us. That's why they always look for the perfection of the product, performance, innovation, and especially the after-sales services. You have to provide it like that. That is kind of a key point that they all are looking for. You get lot of products in the market, branded, but only thing is they don't have a proper agent or proper after-sales service to cater them. So we always counter that, and when we recruit people, I personally believe that having sales experience would be an added advantage for us, because they have the ability to identify the opportunities. And also I always look for the passionate about closing a sale, the product knowledge. And also, even though the kitchen cabinets and the bathroom fitting, it's not all about selling. It's all about like you have a 50% of technical knowledge also, because when you go and meet a client, the owner would always go for the designs and whatever the models, they will choose that. But on the other hand, the architect or the contractor would ask the salesperson few of the technical questions as well. So they have to be well trained on the sales plus the technical aspect as well. And also I always see whether the decision making when you meet a client, what to offer. So decision making is very important, and also convincing the customer to buy the product, and how he could establish confidence about Access Lifestyle and our international partners, the brands. And also finally, I would like to, I would definitely look into discipline matters as well. So those are the key areas that I would look into when I'm recruiting sales staff.
And how about training, Aravinda? What kind of training do you provide to your salespeople, and how do you do that training?
Yes, the first thing would be, once we recruit the salespeople, personal grooming. They're going to represent Access Lifestyle, and they need to go and meet architects and the contractors and high-end clients. So they have to, starting from the haircut to the shoes. We always see through HR, we have a kind of a training how you should represent the company. And the next would be providing information about the company, Access, and our international partners. Because right now, Access is a well-established company in Sri Lanka. It's not all about the product that you can market. It's all about the place that you work for. That has a big gravity on it. And the international partners, basically we are handling with all the top 10 brands known as Hans Grohe and Duravit. And we really believe that connection between the principals and the sales team on the trainings and everything, it should go smoothly. And by training those, we expect the salesperson to have 100% confident about not only the product, about Access also. So basically it's representing Access and the brands. And next comes, yes, the product knowledge. This is done through a senior manager, and we do trainings locally, and also we do trainings internationally also. But right now we do online training for beginners, whoever comes joins the company, and basically building up a confidence about the product, where he can go out and talk about the product and talk about the competitiveness of the product and show that you are selling the best product for the customer. So and also we make it a point, once we do the training, once we complete all these trainings, the product knowledge and everything, we always take our new sales guy, the trainee, on a sales call, and we always take him with us for the meetings, whereas he can see what are the common questions would be raised by the customer, so he can hear everything and he can learn a lot of things. I think experience counts a lot. Me being a salesperson from 2002, I have been in the sales executive, assistant manager, and now I'm the general manager. I'm overlooking the company, but still I'm more into sales. Yeah. So this is how we train them. It's very simple, but we make it a point to evaluate them as well. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
We make it a point to evaluate them also, because it's sales. We cannot have any passengers with us when you do business. So we always evaluate them quarterly and take decisions on them. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Dinesh, do you want to talk about how you hire and train your salespeople? Yes.
Now in FMCG industry in Sri Lanka, as I told you in my previous answer, we have 3 stakeholders to manage. One is the consumer, which is handled by the marketing department and the marketing director. So we have, in sales, we have 2 stakeholders to manage. One is shopper, one is the customer. So if I segment the customers that we have to manage is the distributor. Through the distributor, our products are going into the retail, especially in GT. So our sales people have to manage the distributor. From distributor, stocks are going into retail shops, then cooperative societies, then salons, so all into retails. So the sales force have to manage the retailers. When it comes to modern trade business, the sales team have to handle the modern trade customers, that is account management. And we have a B2B type, corporate and institutional selling arm. So we'll have to manage corporates and industries and manufacturers in terms of buying. So I would say in FMCG predominantly, training is all about on-the-job training. We'll have to get into the swimming pool and try to learn how to swim. So from the first day onwards, it will be on the job, but we have some sort of structure. So when it comes to hiring, basically we hire from different routes. Mainly we hire from the industry. So at HEMAS, we prefer to have new entrants from FMCG industry predominantly, but we do basically get from non-FMCG companies and non-competing FMCG companies, and predominantly from the competitors. So it will be very easy for us to start the job from the following year onwards. So we have another arm from junior level salespeople. We directly recruit from schools, and we have another senior level management level cadre. We straight away recruit from the universities, and we take them through a sales management training program. When they are successful, they are taking into senior executive and assistant manager level. So how we get the leads? Basically from our networks. I think predominantly from our networks, and we use headhunters, and we most of the time use corporate social media. HEMAS, we have corporate sites, and sometimes for specialized, senior level, positions, we go through paid ads as well. So how we do the training is predominantly, I would say, soon after they are recruited, they go through office training, and we give them a proper product training. We teach them what is the product, what is the category, and how this product is differentiated from the competitor. That is predominantly in-house. And we take them through sales analytics, negotiation, basic negotiation. And for senior level, we go through factory training as well. And to a certain level, we go through IB tool, some analytics as well. Then when it comes to on the job, we get them to work from the very first day onwards, and we give them adequate field coaching, how to display, scientifically display and merchandising. Especially field coaching will be given for personal selling. So area sales manager will be coaching, or the modern trade account manager will be coaching the junior guy how to do personal selling, and they will be doing some sort of mirroring the person as well. And while we are doing that, we have some sort of a structured training programs that we invite professional trainers to come to the company and do, 1 day, 2 day professional structured training program. And at the end of the training program, we give them certificates as well. And we send them to some sort of, professional training courses organized by maybe CIM, maybe Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing, and we sponsor them and they go through the whole structured program and they come back on. And in sandwiching, we have, here and there some seminars, workshops, best practices sharing, webinars and videos, and we share all best practices and worst practices as well. So I would say a fully blended. We do it with passion, we do it with fun, it's all about, sell with fun in our company. So this is how recruitment and training is in HEMAS and predominantly, mainly in FMCG. Very interesting.
Thank you. Thank you, Dinesh, for that. Ravi?
Okay. At Prima, let me just give a kind of a perspective in two-pronged view. So, so the firstly, it is all about recruitment. So when it comes to recruitment, it is always based on a kind of a very clear agenda. We first initiate the recruitment process, because our attrition rates are pretty low in our organization because we have stability in the business. So having said that, so if you are recruiting someone, that means we have to first identify why we have to require, and that why question has to be answered pretty well. So in that, there will be a role template, and basis the role template, there are a few attributes that we will be looking at, especially at a salesperson. Number one, it is all about the personal attitude and the personal flair. So those are two attributes as a salesperson that he has to be blessed with that the attribute. So it is very hard to teach those personal flair and those personal traits to a salesperson. It has to be an inborn skill. But I'm saying there are many people. I have learned my way out. So probably we can start somewhere and you have to keep on sharpening. So that's the first attribute. The second is all about the academic and the professional background of that person. So whether that, as per the JD, whether that particular candidate has those technical competencies in him or not. So that will be the second the factor. The third factor is the experiences, varied experiences that he or she has to kind of bringing to the table. So the diverse exposure that we can have. I personally, in my recent past, that I have been like trying to kind of explore new things by trying to kind of get a talent from different industries. So I can strengthen my bench strength. I can bring a different new skill to the table. So that's how we in the recent past have been looking at talent and I would say forming or morphing our system into the desired state that we want to be. Lastly, it is also, we look at the track record also of an individual. So these are a very academic, very structured way of looking at things. But apart from that, once we have the zeroed on a person, once he comes into the business, our training schedule is different. So firstly, there will be a complete induction depending on the role where he is. So he will have either functional induction, or whether he will have a cross-functional induction, or he will have a whole business induction, depending on the role and the capacity that the person joins. So the induction process may take about approximately two weeks to 1 month. So thereby we will give them that right perspective and the right subject matter expertise onto the job that he has to perform. So apart from that, we are unique in the market. When I look at like Dinesh, or when I look at even Access here, because we are handling a primary ingredient, and our heart of our customer, the core customer, is our baker. So the baker is a person who has to perform a task, and he has to make bread or make his end products. So apart from the normal selling, the function that is about the salesmanship training and the product training, we give him another level of training, that is the technical hands-on training for him to go and perform a task in front of a baker. So I categorize my sales team into 3 different segments. So we do have a basic representative level. We call them the kind of an in terms of the technical expertise, we call them like an MO, apothecary doctor, right? So he or he has to go and then look at the patient and help the baker to fine tune his end product. And it's some kind of an advocacy has to come in there. So there, for him to do that, he has to know how to make bread, how to make a bun, what is the recipe, and when to add what, and all that has to be taught to the candidate. So this is the first level. Second level is an area sales management, and the sales management level, they have to be like a kind of a nearby doctor, like a general practitioner. One level, one grade, one notch higher. And their technical expertise has to be that level of advocacy, and then some level of hands-on. And the third level is the technical sales guy. So he is a kind of a consultant surgeon. He is the one who is going to kind of put the patient on the table and do all the surgery and dissect, and then help the baker in terms of troubleshooting or fine-tuning. So that's a specialized skill. So in the sales, the personnel, so we do have salesmanship training as well as a technical training. So that's because we are into B2B, the B2B segment has to have something more than the normal salesperson. That is the technical, the know-how or the hands-on or the expertise is the key differentiator. So this is how we basically structure and identify the salespeople in terms of recruitment, and this is how we basically train our personnel before they go to the market. And one thing before I close, as Dinesh also clearly said, we also have a shadowing process. We always have an OJT, on the job training, for all our personnel. So before they go into the market, they are basically vetted, they are basically tested and evaluated whether they were the salt in front of a customer. Because all our effort of trying to kind of convert a sale will go for a toss at the first impression if he bust it off. So therefore, so once he has got that acclimatization and that know-how and that the classroom training in-house, we put him into the field for about a month for him to shadow and mimic another person, experienced person in that area. So I call as a kind of a buddy culture or a buddy environment. So this buddy will be the sole person who will help him to sharpen, and then there are different levels of evaluation at a managerial level, whether that particular person is able to kind of perform.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. So if I may summarize, when it comes to hiring and training, specifically if I'm talking about training, companies pay a lot of attention to make sure that the new recruits really know the product, so they get a lot of good product knowledge related training. They get trained on the technical aspects of the product, especially in businesses that focuses on technology, and that is businesses where technology is a key selling point when it comes to selling to certain types of buyers. But on the other hand, you do a lot of on-the-job training in terms of shadowing, mentorship, buddy training kind of mechanisms where new recruits go on sales calls with experienced salespeople or sales managers, and they actually get that whole experience of, okay, how do I interact with the customer? What kind of questions would come up and how can I handle those kind of questions? How can I handle objections, things like that? So they get a lot of on-the-job training as well. So what I'm hearing is companies in Sri Lanka, they do focus on product knowledge, but at the same time, they make sure that their salespeople can develop the soft skills associated with selling through on-the-job training and, and before they really put them out into the market, they make sure that they are evaluated so as to, they're ready to sell and they're ready to go in front of the customer and represent their company and their products. So yes, so in terms of summarize, I just wanted to summarize that before we move on to the next question. Thank you, gentlemen. Those are some very good insights.
I would like to add one more thing.
Sure,
with these,
sure.
Whilst agreeing for all the comments with these gentlemen, there is something significantly I think we all go through is like no one is like perfect is going to be in the sales approach. So therefore, a check and adjust is very much important. No matter we hire the perfect person, we only do we'll say we go through a process of maybe 2-3 times of going through the interviewing process, getting through the academics, all that. But then that whole the final piece comes with the end use. So therefore, check and adjust is very much important. And then with that check and adjust, job rotation is also equally important. Sometimes we hire certain people to thinking that particular person will do the job, but then we feel in the process that particular person is better doing something else. So therefore, we need to do the check and adjust, which I think most of our companies around any industry will always try to understand, because sending people home or firing people is easy, but hiring and training them and retaining them is so much difficult. So therefore, having someone and getting them to do the check and adjust is, in my view, in our industry, is very much important. I thought it's something that I would like to bring it up to the forum.
Thank you, Rashmika. Yes, and I completely agree with you. Even here, we say that hiring a new recruit and training them is very expensive. So companies really need to pay attention on, first of all, to hire the right people. So the hiring process has to be very strong. And then once you hire, how do you train them properly so that they can, represent your product and your company well and do their job well? And then, of course, the third element would be, how do you keep them without, how do you retain them? And it's nice to hear that Prima, the attrition rate is low, because in sales in general, you get very high turnover rates. So so that's like the third element of it. How do we keep our good salespeople with our company and not having them leave and go into other companies looking for better options? All right. So I want to move on to the next question. I'd like to frame it this way. So if you are talking about, let me frame it this way. What are some tactics do you think that are important or very beneficial in your when selling and or when you're at a sales call? What are some tactics that are very beneficial towards closing the sale and helping salespeople build relationships with customers? So walk us through your sales methodologies. Let's focus more on tactics, if you can elaborate some tactics that are helpful to your salespeople. What would they be? Rashmika, we do not have your video on.
No, I'm on actually. I don't know why.
Okay.
Let me off and on again.
Yes. If not, we can just do audio. That's fine.
No, I'm on. Can you see me or you can't see? Anyone?
Fortunately not. Yes.
You guys can't see me. Okay, I can see myself anyway.
Okay, so, let's go ahead and talk about it.
All right. So if I hear you loud and clear, what you just wanted us to describe, or rather for me to describe, is like what are the tactics that we use in terms of a selling process, yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
a few tactics that you think are helpful in terms of closing the sale. Yeah.
So I think fundamentally on a holistic view on a tactics, I would say which is more important is the relationship with the customer and with the organization. So unique selling proposition comes with the personal connect, as well as the of course having the product knowledge and getting the beautiful articulated product and crafted product. All that is keeping aside, few tactics that in my opinion what matters is the key fundamental thing is relationship. Relationship comes with two elements. One is deliver on your promise. You can only deliver once, then you probably as good as yesterday's delivery, because you won't be able to get into another conversation with the sales, be it sales or marketing, at anything. So the relationship is matters at a very senior level, like what I do in a strategic level, as well as I have a functional level leaders who go for relationship. Be it example, a salesman samples, the marketing samples will have to go on time. If you don't go on time, no matter what we build is not going to be there, because after the sales conference for the brands, they won't be waiting for our samples to come. So we need to have that a clear mandate of a relationship at each level to build that and to articulate into the product and the services that we offer. Once we do that, then it boils down to the product level tactics that we use. So we need to kind of, an example, we'll say we are going after a new customer. We approach is slightly different to an existing customer. So the new customer, we need to do a lot of, for example, research and understand the consumer and the product and what is the message, clear message. And then we need to kind of create the different product better than our competition to get into the sales. So one of the tactics that we probably use is like, use the end-to-end technologies that we have, use the hybrid solutions that we have, where your competition probably is not even have thought about it or not even close to the offerings. And then we give the end-to-end product solution within a business solution. So for example, we do prior testing and protocols and wear trials and do the product testing before even we go and talk to the customer, so that the customer knows that we have been actually taking care of this whole idea for them. So likewise, we have different tactics that we use. And I would say fundamentals of the tactics are the relationship. And then with that, of course, comes with the ethical business practices. And then we make sure that we deliver on our promise, as I said. And then one of the biggest, I would say, that we use is a storytelling, because it's all about telling the real story. It not necessarily need to be a very professionally articulated story. It could be something very simple but very personal story, so that people knows that you respect yourselves and your brand and as your services. So storytelling is one of the tactics that we heavily use in our entire process, be it on our fabric engineering, be it on our raw material supply chain management, or verticality offerings, or duty free, or even in a costing. For example, when you're going to cost the product and put it into a pricing element, we need to build that story. If you don't build the story, you're just giving a price which customer can always think, this could be not the competitive price, you need to do better. So if you tell the story right, then it has a connection to your product and your services and your sell through. So I would say those are one of the few tactics that we use in a critical day-to-day BAU, business as usual. Apart from that, what we do is we go into some of the trade shows and then fairs, and then we have our own ways of like marketing our products, and then we invite world renowned brands like the Lululemons of the world, the Nikes of the world, and all these brands comes, and then they actually see what else that we can give beyond what we can offer. And then also we use our entire organization, I would say the power of the organization, because we are truly an international company. As I said, we are in 16 countries. So we don't necessarily only give a one sales tactic. We always give alternative, be it onshore, nearshore, could be something to do with duty benefits, something to do with speed, agility. All those tactics we use in terms of selling our end-to-end value stream. So I would say, Manoshini, I would rather bucket that into a new customer approach as well as in existing with the new product. So it's like Apple, by now Apple must have done the next 2 generations, I would say. So we do have a similar approach, but we don't give everything at one go. We just do it in a systematic way, because sometimes consumers, especially the young consumers, and then we have a digital arena, they can't fathom everything what we give. So therefore we plan it, time it, and then we offer it. So those are some of the tactics that we use, if I may put across in our industry. I hope I answered you.
Yes, perfect. Aravinda, let me unmute you. Aravinda, can you hear me? Okay, in the interest of time, let's, Dinesh, do you want to talk about the sales methodology and tactics, and we can come back to Aravinda.
Tactics, Manoshi, of course, plays a huge role in FMCG as an industry, especially, barriers to entry for FMCG is pretty much minimal. Any cottage industry can come up with a soap tomorrow. Any person come up with a sanitizer, day after tomorrow. So competition is extremely severe in the FMCG context. So when the salesman go to the point of purchase, they see lots of competitor products in huge quantities have been flooded. So main tactic they use is they get the competitor intelligence from their sources before these competitor products coming, or which quantity they are coming, what are the promo schemes that these promo loads are coming into the market. So before such offers get into the wholesale or the retail, we have some tactical schemes to block them. So that is number one. Even it's a common thing in FMCG. We block the store of the wholesaler, of the shelf of the wholesaler tactically through some retailer or a consumer promo scheme. That is number one. Second thing that many of the FMCG companies that do is, when the competition is there, they use beauty advisors, promo girls, door-to-door, a modern trade, weekend thematic promotions to, tactically. It's not very strategic. Sometimes we plan promotion within few weeks times, because we can't go through a strategy when the competition is there. So lots of tactical promotions attacking the wholesaler, retailer, sometimes the end shopper to block the competition. Another thing that we do is tactically in general trade, lots of FMCG companies, they have loyalty schemes to block the competition. So they plan it for about a year. They agree for some sort of a volume with some benefits to the trader, maybe tied up with some training programs, some visibility schemes, or maybe at the end of the program, some foreign tours. So through that, a lot of FMCG companies, they maintain the competitiveness. So a lot of small players, very difficult to get in to the trade. Another thing that we do is tactically, we go through, especially in the modern trade, very rigorous, very structured listing process. So when that is nicely gone through, pitch to the modern trade customer, as Ravi said, it's just like a storytelling. We uniquely say how our product is unique to competition when it comes to listing. So that is also very tactically we do. Another thing that we do is we use lots of ad hoc activities to boost. When we see some dips in sales, we ad hoc level, we do quick distributions, display drives, we call it bliss. Within few days, we get the whole market displayed in, huge quantities with feature displays. So you can see the whole market is decorated with some thundering promotions. So those are the main, tactics we do. Sometimes we do, route plan changes based on the competition. Sometimes we do, price adjustments to tactically, block the competition. When the information is available before the competition comes. So those are the, basic tactics. We have a lot of strategic items. So those are the generic tactics that we use.
Aravinda, can you unmute yourself? There's a mute button towards the lower end of your screen. I'm sorry, you have somehow gotten muted. Or what you can do is you can log off the meeting and log on back in again. I think that would work. Yeah. Meanwhile, Ravi, would you like to talk on the topic in terms of sales methodology and certain tactics that help you all in the selling process?
Okay, it's a very interesting area, especially in the FMCG, where bulk of sales are happening in the B2B arena or the segment. A lot of tactics have been used in the past, and then in the recent past that we have redefined the game plan to secure market share, because as we are the category captain, our game plan is to the secure market share and also to grow the market, because that's how as the category leader, where we could lead the way rather than trying to kind of compete with competition. So having said that, there are a few things. I will not tell everything, but I'll just let me just because of the trade secrets, I'll not disclose everything. But let me just give you kind of very broad perspective of how we basically use sales tactics in terms of managing the customer and managing the consumer, right? So firstly, it is we being the category captain, the competition is always going and knocking on the customer's door to get them into the plethora of the usage. But the challenge is, how are we going to kind of defend it? So as Dinesh said, many FMCG companies use loyalty schemes to differentiate the offering. So with loyalty schemes, many companies will augment the offering. So they go beyond one step and then give some additional element to the customer in their total offering. So that itself becomes a differentiated offering to the customer. So this is one approach that even we adopt to a greater level. So this is annually, this has to get changed. It has to evolve, because it is always tit for tat. We do something today, we are in FMCG. Tomorrow, when you get up, there is a competitor trying to kind of mimic you or trying to do better. Then how you are going to refine and redirect, or your mix is going to be a continuous battle that we will have to kind of shape. Apart from that, we also look at the industry as the category captain, and we try to help the customers grow their business. Because my firm belief is, if we can, because we are in B2B, if we can help the customer to grow, customer always is going to have a soft spot for your company. So in order to grow the business, we look at in many ways. One, we look at product development opportunities, where how best that we can use our technical know-how, technical knowledge, and take those the end product offerings to the next level. So this is a very, very unique offer that we offer to our valued customers. Second thing is, we look at market development opportunity. Say, for example, we see we want to redefine the market. For example, we want to see that, okay, there is a growing health requirement, health trend is there. So in these kind of situations, our normal baker will not be versatile to understand what are the dynamics in the industry and what are the offerings that he can do. So as the category captain, it comes back to me, and then to inculcate that knowledge in the customers about the market trends and how they could face those challenges and how we could facilitate them. So how we facilitate them is, it can be varied. It can be a product-led one, where with a customized product solution, where we give him because we look at his the production process, and we can give him a customized flour. So then when we give a customized flour, then it becomes a unique thing for him. So it's because it is customized. So for competition to mimic that is going to be that much difficult. It will take that much time. Apart from that, we also look at customizing the go-to-market operation, maybe a silo, because currently is a bulk customer who is buying in large quantities. But why not I install a silo and improve the process and help him to kind of have a cost saving also, discarding the bag. And so these are another ways that where we can tie in the customer with a much more robust long-term plan. Apart from that, we also look at automating opportunities, because if you look at the bakery industry in the country, it is an evolving category. It is not up to the European bakery industry or the Southeast Asian market. We are not there. Still, we have traditional bakers who use very lean recipes and lean dough, and use traditional artisan practices in making bread. So these kind of guys are very labor-intensive operations, and labor in Sri Lanka is becoming a scarcity as we talk. So how we help these bakers is we help them in automation, and we give them mixers, the dividers, right, molders, etc., and help them, and ovens, etc., help them to automate their the production process. Once we do that, we have a loyal customer with us, and who will stand by us in with some long-term commitment. So these are few areas and few tactics that we do. But apart from that, I also want to take, like Rashmika said, in selling, the relationship quotient takes the precedence. So the relationship quotient, because other things are all the attributes that where somebody can mimic, somebody can do, but relationship quotient, if you want to develop that, we need to think and help the salespeople to think beyond business in mastering that relationship. So I have put as a priority taking the business beyond business, and what is that next level salesmanship that the sales team is going to bring to the table in customer management. And mainly this is defined for key customer management. So these are some of the tactics that we do at Prima, and to help the customer and thereby grow the customer. And when he grows, we as the category captain, we have the largest share and we grow.
Got it.
Manoshi, I would like to add a small element from FMCG side, the category management. So leading FMCG companies in Sri Lanka, if you take the modern trade business, we don't go as a brand, but we go as a category. For instance, like we are the market leader in hair oil. So we help supermarkets to grow the hair oil category. So the revenue of the whole category grows and the supermarket also grow. So we don't specifically, try to develop our brand per se, but as a category per se. So the whole category grows, new players can come in. And other than that, we give fully fledged training programs for modern trade, starting from customer service, warehouse management, display and merchandising. So we want customer to grow, then all the players and the company also grow. So another tactic which came to my mind. Thanks.
Got it. Thank you. Aravinda, do you want to add to that in terms of tactics you can share? Yeah.
Yes.
Because over here, we'll find that very interesting, because if companies here ever want to get into a small developing country, what are certain things that you can do in terms of helping you gain business in that country, which is where I'm trying to get at with this question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aravinda.
Yes. It's very clear in the market when it comes to sanitary fittings and the showers, the price plays a major role. But we are a company who are not competing with price. We always compete with quality. All right, let's talk about an example. All right, if someone wants to go and have a look at it, now it's not the time that the customer goes to the showroom and just have a look at the shower or the design and finalize everything. No, we have gone to the next level. That's why in our showroom, we call the showroom as the experience center. Our product is high, it can perform well, and it has a lot of innovation features. So why don't we show the client? That's why at Experience Center, we have displayed all the showers and the WCs at the functional level. It's amazing to see that. And it helps the salespeople also to convince the customer. The salesperson doesn't need to take on imagination, what do you call, kind of a drive with the customer to explain the product. It's just in front of the customer. The customer can touch and feel the product. Most of the time, it's very easy for us to finish the sale. It's very easy. So this tactic we are only using at the moment. And even though even a competitor start the same thing, I would say Hansgrohe, it's a far superior brand and it has a lot of options and you can really relax on your shower. That's one thing. And yes, I agree with Rashmika. We have a database of the architects. For us, architects are the people who recommend our product. So definitely having a personal relationship with them is very, very important. So that's why we work very close with the architects, and we give the opportunity for them to use our products as well. Then it's easy it's not all about going in front of the architects and, you show them, you ask them to come to the showroom and everything, giving them something entertaining. It's not that. When an architect builds his own house, we make it a point to give our products to use. So every day they use it, and their clients, definitely the architects will recommend this product to their clients. So that's why we handle all the architects in a very personal touch. And also architects and investors. Once a year, we identify potential architects, and we take them on a tour to Germany, Black Forest, where our factories are there. So we take them, we give the chance to experience how the quality production process is being done. Most of the time, the architects we cannot convert to sales. Once we do this trip, it's not all about entertaining or anything like that. They really know what the product that we are marketing in Sri Lanka and the performance. So that is one thing that we are using. And also the project list. That is also one completed project list. People love recommendations. When it comes to making decisions, you can get third-party influence from the architect, and the person can up to a certain level, he can always also convince. But when you hear, if it is a B2B sale, if it is an apartment, the investor would like to hear what are the other projects that we have completed with. I would say, namely in Colombo, 90%, 95% of the top end apartments, I would say Altea, Union Place Apartments, Twin Peak, you name it, everything is from Hansgrohe and Duravit. So people love to hear those as well. So we use that as in that way, we are very strong with the project list. So why not we use it? We really use them to convert the sales. Yeah. Thank you.
So what I'm hearing is almost all of the companies are using certain tactics that help you all foster more strong relationships with your customers, because across the board, I hear relationships are the most important thing when it comes to sales. Okay, so you have to sort of be creative in terms of implementing certain tactics that would help your salespeople build that, long-term mutually beneficial relationship with their customers. And it seems like different companies are doing different things in that regard. And referrals are definitely something that we talk about here in sales when we are training our students, when we are training our sales students. Always look at your existing customer list and see if you can build on that in terms of referrals. So having that list upfront is very important too. Yeah. Following up on that question pertaining to sales tactics, I would like to move on to the next question. But in the interest of time, I would like to keep the response short. If I am to ask each one of you to list, not explain, list 3 things, 3 determinants of successful selling within your organization. Maybe you have covered it already, maybe it's relationships, and feel free to say that if that's the case. But if I'm asking you to list 3 things that allows you to become very successful in selling within your organization, what would those 3 things be? Rashmika, just listed 3 things.
So can you guys see me or you can't see me?
Yes,
still?
we can see you and we can hear you.
All right. Okay. Lovely. I'm back then. So I'll put it in a way which is very clearly, I would say product is the number 1. And I would say sustainability is probably go over and above the product also, but be it product sustainability, be it sustainability in our manufacturing process, be it sustainability in the society, and then be human, be planet, all that put together, I would say a sustainability play a huge part. So those are the key 2 factors. And then I put all the others into the product, like the pricing, the IMUs and digital offerings, digital offense, all that is fine. And third factor I would say is definitely a relationship, because without that, no matter you change your brand, because the brand seniors, and no matter which position they are, they sometimes turn to change their own work elements. So when they move around, how you have been looked after them previously, what matters. So then I would say those are the 3 main attributes when it comes to the whole the success factors.
Okay, perfect. Aravinda, let's go in the same order we were doing before. If you were to list 3 determinants of successful selling, what would they be?
Yeah, I'm not going to explain anything. I'll just go through the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. At Access Lifestyle, we really believe on the brand Access. It's a reputed company and it's a very
Looks like we're having some technical issues. Dinesh, do you want to take it until we get around the back? I'm sorry.
I think in FMCG front, Manoshi, the skills and competencies of the sales force matters a lot, because we are going through a very, very severe competition. Is Rashmika back?
Aravinda, yes. But you can keep going and we'll go back to Aravinda next.
Okay.
Yeah. So skills and competencies of the sales force, one factor.
Play a major role because selling through the competition is extremely difficult. So we train them how to pitch to a modern trade, how to go through 7-step selling process to a GT shop. So once they grasp everything into the selling team, the selling will be extremely successful, because we have seen the highly skilled trained people versus unskilled trained people. There is a huge variance in selling. Second, the determinant factor, Manoshi, I would say the experience and the exposure. So experience and exposure are 2 different things. So if you have more than the experience a selling person, the salesman having, experience of 2-3 companies, 2-3 industries. I have seen in my lifetime, a salesperson performs more than an average salesperson. So we are keen to recruit people more than the experience. But the person, especially in the industrial selling and the modern trade selling, people who have good exposure rather than the experience, and the motivations levels of the sales force. So we have several, money-based, incentive schemes, and recognition-driven incentive scheme to keep the sales force fully motivated, because if their motivation levels are pretty much down, we see a sudden, dip in the sales. So they are extremely sensitive. Second thing is sales orientation of the company, Manoshi, because we have seen, sales and marketing companies which, don't have sales orientation, because sales philosophy should be number one in a FMCG company, because everything, reverted through the sales force. So if you don't have the sales orientation, even the procurement guy, even the, the admin guy in the sales office should be totally, oriented to the sales force and to help them. If you don't have as a philosophy in the company, you will see a sudden dip. And your company should have a nice, fully fledged, not a short-term strategy, a long-term, superb, including the channel, including the training, should superb 3 to 4 year sales strategy, which shouldn't be changed drastically in a monthly basis, on a yearly basis. And your execution orientation should be super fine in a company. I have seen so many companies who have, super very classy sales strategies, but when it comes to execution, when it comes to monitoring, no dashboards, when the execution is, utmost important, while you have a, mid to long term good robust strategy where you get a, superb sustainable sales results in a company. And another thing, Manoshi, not the least, but the last, the competition intelligence flowing into the sales force. Because since FMCG is highly competitive, you have to have so many means of getting competitor information into the company and give it to the sales team. So before they get to know at the point of purchase, they are properly prepared to go and attack the competition. So those are the few factors that I would see in the FMCG.
Perfect. Aravinda, coming back to you, would you like to talk about, briefly, 3 things that you think would be very important?
Yes. Okay. First would be definitely the brand name of Access. Since it's a well-established company, we always make it a point to brand our company. And the international partners that we have, the contracts that we have. For an example, having contracts with Hansgrohe or Duravit, all these reputed high-quality brands, we really believe in partnerships. We don't want to do business since as a trading company, we don't like to change brands. That's why we have been having this relationship with our principals for more than 20 years. I'm pretty sure in the market, when people are more profit oriented, they used to change the brands depending on the profitability. But we really stick on this relationship, the partnership with the principals, and also we have to maintain the relationship with the stakeholders, and of course well-trained sales force, well-trained motivated sales force, and of course you should have a brilliant product to sell. That is very important. I would say those would be my points.
Ravi, would you like to go ahead and...
Let me just, as you mentioned, stick to 3 things, but these are 3, I would say, big ticket items.
Okay.
The first is all about conceptualization and strategy. In sales, you have to start with the strategy right. So it is, as Dinesh said, a lot of things that this can have many aspects to it. So, but if I isolate it to one, it is the conceptualization and strategy in sales. So it's one attribute. The second thing, it is best in class execution. because no matter what we do on PowerPoint or what we do on Excel or whatever, where the rubber hits the road is in the market and it's in the execution. So the execution piece has to become a world-class execution piece, and it will have many dimensions to it. So even the people factor, the training factor, everything will be under the execution pillar. And the third thing is the enabling pillar for me. And I'm just giving, these are three terminologies that I use at Prima. So the conceptualization, the execution, best-in-class execution, and enabling. Enabling is all about how your processes, how your systems, and how your MIS is working in terms of throwing out vital information at your fingertips as and when you require. Because without proper scientific Salesforce automation and kind of an information system, in today's world, you are nowhere. So if you want to do a proper scientific job in the market, these are my three priorities. So strategy and conceptualization, best-in-class execution, and the enabling with systems and processes, MIS.
Perfect. And I see a lot of similarities in terms of the determinants as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing all that. So we've covered the foundational questions, and I feel like we've learned a lot, especially from an outsider perspective when it comes to selling in a small developing country like Sri Lanka. Let's move on to a few situational questions. These are unique to the country itself. We have about 20 panels, so I want you all to talk about these questions from a purely Sri Lankan perspective. Okay, so when it comes to selling in Sri Lanka, how would you describe these different topics? I will frame it in the form of a question. Are we ready to move on to the next section? Everybody good? Does anybody need to take a break? No? Okay.
Perfect. Let's roll.
All right. So when it comes to some situational questions pertaining to Sri Lanka, what do you see as main opportunities and challenges facing your sales organization? And these opportunities and challenges can be environmental, social, political, things like that. And I would like you to talk from it from a Sri Lankan perspective. What do you see as challenges or opportunities when it comes to selling in Sri Lanka? So Rashmika, yours, you do not sell in Sri Lanka, so, but as a company operating within the Sri Lankan realm, do you see any opportunities and challenges that you can talk about over there?
Yeah, I would say getting into an international arena, being a Sri Lankan and having been in a developing country, I would say changing the culture and then the mindset is the clear mandate. Because be it in a Sri Lankan market or international market, not like 1980s or before, everyone knows the products now. It's in a fingertip. You can just go to the Google and Mr. Google will give everything. So I put myself into a Sri Lankan context and say the biggest thing is like unlocking the mindset and then trying to be truly an international player, trying to do the sales. It could be in a consumer in Sri Lanka, could be in a consumer in far away out of Colombo, but then still that particular consumer is equally important to someone who's in New York or in San Francisco or wherever it could be. So how I put it in that is like the biggest challenge we see is right now is like getting the younger generation or the new gen to kind of understand the ability of this importance of selling, importance of this whole process. And then some of these guys that we have seen is that they're very impatient. They don't want to kind of go through this difficult period that we always want to kind of tell. It's not, life is not going to be the same. It's going to be changed. But then they sometimes we feel like they're not ready to listen because they want an instant stability and instant gratification and then move on with it. I would say that is inherent to a developing country and a country like Sri Lanka. And then the other challenge that I would say is, in my opinion, for our industry, for industry that I come, is converting the normal people into a technical tech marketeers is a big challenge, because maybe because of our infrastructure and our education system is such, you've been you've been told to do what, and then you don't want to change. So therefore, with the culture and the change, those are the two things that I would embed it together to feel that we need to change. And opportunities are endless. So mentoring and coaching and developing them to get into that whole mindset, probably as leaders in these industries and in the countries, are very important. So I would say those are the foundational stuff that we are going through. Environmentally, I would say a stable environment that we are in will give an added advantage. Be it trade fairs and trade the challenges that we have in terms of duties and stuff like that are also equally challenging for us, because otherwise what will happen is, even for a local market, we put a price and then we import, and then we have to somehow be effective in our process, be effective in our entire manufacturing to make our own profits. But if you really look at it, I'll give you a classic example right now. Because of the pandemic, the transportation sector has come up with various price brackets, which we can't even stomach it, because we buy a lot of material, buy a lot of raw material, and we don't make our money being the manufacturer, but someone else making the money. So those are the environmental, which we are not in control with right now. But then what we need to do is, like, in my opinion, we need to be in control of what we are in control of. So end-to-end manufacturing, and then getting that crafted product that our consumer and our customer will never say no. That's by and large, I would say those are challenges. I'm sure my colleagues will tell the rest.
Yes, maybe they can add on to the list of Sri Lankan opportunities unique to Sri Lanka. And coming from Sri Lanka myself, I can sort of relate to many of these issues, because I grew up in Sri Lanka and I know how things happen there. Aravinda, do you want to go ahead and take that question? Yes.
Yes. All right. When it comes to social, yes, since our product is a niche market, we have the challenge of going through and spreading all over the country. We cannot have that distributor channel at the moment. We cannot open up showrooms everywhere, and we cannot increase our profit levels. It's a very niche market. But as an opportunity, we have other brands from other countries, which is, I would say, it's not equivalent for what we have, the quality, but still, if you're looking at the mass market, we should be able to bring something from China or some other country and market it. Basically, product diversification. And environmental, when it's come to products, since we are a trading company, we import products, and we have an advantage on that, because all our products are LEED certified, special water saving devices being installed, so our product is accepted in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And politically, yes, we have high duties. Since it's a premium product, we have very high duties. Basically, the government is doing that to safeguard the local manufacturer. Yeah, price is kind of like the taxes are kind of a challenge for us. Yes.
Got it. Yes, thank you for sharing that. I would think that being a product like yours, it will be a niche market, and that will be one of the challenges, especially when it comes to a small developing country. What portion of your population can actually afford your product? And then, of course, the taxes and things like that. Which makes sense that you're not competing on price. That's not the way to go. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, doctor, you won't believe there's a person in this panel list who's using our product. It should be a very happy client, of course.
That's right.
Yes, Mr. Rashmika.
All right, Dinesh, would you like to talk about that,
Yeah.
please?
In FMCG front, Manoshi, I'm just, explaining all the opportunities, all the companies who are really passionate and robust enough to capture these opportunities, because there were some companies who were lethargic, couldn't capture any of these opportunities.
First opportunity was emerging personal care product market in Sri Lanka. So the companies who were really geared to come up with a new product development, especially hand sanitizers, maybe sanitization, caliber products, people who came up suddenly to the market, got a huge market share, got a first mover advantage in the market. So people who took years to come, innovate another personal care product market, they lost the opportunity, first mover advantage opportunity. Number one. Second is these days we have seen lots of e-commerce based opportunities. If you're really smart and really analytical into e-commerce, there are so many opportunities you can grab and get share from the competitors. If you are not really passionate on e-commerce or getting into e-spaces, you are not right there. And there are so many e-based awareness building programs embedded into the system. If you really drive in with a low cost, you can reach lots of retail spaces. And another big opportunity that I have seen is international chains trying to put their footprint in Sri Lankan market. We can see Spa have embedded landed in Sri Lanka. They have innovated lots of new ways of new philosophies of retail selling. So if you're really smart, we can capture such big international exposure to our retail landscape, and as companies we can grow. And we have seen premiumization is happening, unbranded product to branded product. So we can say unbranded oil people getting into branded oil. So FMCG companies, branded companies capture lot of share and volume through this. They should be really smart enough to get this generic product to brand product. So that's why I told you, you can't just be in the market. You should be smart enough to capture that opportunity in a very, very intellectually strategical manner. And final opportunity that I have seen is general trade to modern trade, rapid shift in the market. So not like selling in general trade.
I find that interesting too. Yeah.
If you're really smart, if you're really strategic, if you're really passionate in FMCG selling, there are so many opportunities in modern trade. Not like retail, not like general trade. So if you can get into real modern trade dynamics, even if you're a small player, if you're really studying the dynamic, you can play a good game in modern trade. That's why my whole philosophy is you should be, folks, try to capture these opportunities. Otherwise, if you may be a big multinational, if you don't have that opportunistic mind, you will fail, and all small companies will get your market share. And challenges you see in FMCG, high attrition rate. I can remember last few weeks it was 33% to 40%. Especially the frontliner level salespeople are jumping company to company, because if the competitor company offers 5,000 more than this X company, they will switch into the next company, because training and development, as Ravi said, training and developing a sales guy is a huge investment. You can hire brand managers, you can hire engineers, but very difficult to train and develop a salesperson. Because sales is not basically a science; it's an art. So now,
I agree.
Producing an artist is very difficult. So what mushrooming companies, what they do is they pay 20% additional and grab a person from an experienced company. So that's why attrition rate has become skyrocketed. And high bargaining power of modern trade customers. So some modern trade customers have become really big, and they have gone into real hard bargaining. It's very difficult to survive, especially if you're running with thin margins. Another thing is mushrooming FMCG companies, and existing FMCG companies, they're coming up with all the categories. So take Ravi's company, their retail arm, they had noodles. Now they have come up with cooking oils, they have come up with yogurts. So all the FMCG companies now, they have all the products. So for existing FMCG companies, very difficult keep the listing status in the supermarket. The new companies offer big margins, and all players are challenged. Those are the real hardcore challenges that we face. And lastly, I would say exorbitant spend coming through new entrant to the market. So they bleed and they spend whatever. Sometimes they spend the whole revenue as support money to grow, short-term market share. So big companies going through a hard mill in terms of, maintaining their gross margins. So those are the big ticket challenges that I have seen in FMCG.
Challenges pertaining to Sri Lanka as well. I just want to clarify to anybody over here who does not know the term modern trade. Modern trade basically is supermarkets. Am I correct in saying that?
Self-service outlets.
Yes, and that's a big market segment that is developing very rapidly, I would say. Even in developing countries like Sri Lanka, you're moving from a traditional retailer to shopping in a supermarket, and we see a lot of transition there, and it's a very fast-growing market segment in developing countries, even in small developing countries like Sri Lanka. I just wanted to make that clarification in case somebody here did not know that term. But thank you, Dinesh, for sharing all of that. Ravi, would you like to, it looks like you guys are competitors now. But would you like to add to that in terms of opportunities and challenges when it comes to selling in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, firstly, given the current context, I think the biggest challenge for FMCG companies, especially who are into B2B like us, is the P&L management. So the P&L management has become a daunting task now because of an escalating exchange. The world commodity prices, wheat prices are going up. The transportation has gone up, as Rashmika said. It is like skyrocketing as we talk. And the general inflation is also beating into it. So apart from that, the category that we are operating is being an essential category, essential food category, and being an essential food category, it is coming under price control. So one end we have an escalating cost. On the other hand, we have the price control where we are unable to increase prices as per the cost increases in as per the market dynamics, if I put it in the right way. So then the candle is burning from both ends. So the P&L management becomes a nightmare at this junction. So this is I think this is common to many players now and many categories, and especially who are in the essential food categories, which really requires a kind of a proper thinking, proper frameworking in this market if we are operating as a kind of an open market. This is the first one. The second one is the category that I'm operating is it's a wheat flour category, as you know. So the wheat flour category is in Sri Lanka, our consumer palate is for refined wheat flour. That's a white color flour. And there are enough of the I would say challenges coming from the medics as well as the lobby groups, consumer groups, etc. Because of the rising NCDs, that is the non-communicable diseases. So because of that, the world is moving towards a kind of a whole grain, the flour variants. So a challenge is our consumer is looking for a refined option where the palatability is skewed towards that, because we Sri Lankans have a sweet tooth. So we always want that kind of a palatable product. So the changing the palatability and the changing and into whole grain product formats, even though we do have products currently in the portfolio, our consumer traction for those products are relatively low, and there are certain limitations on those products in looking at the mass products like breads, etc. So those are the typical challenges. So the second challenge in terms of the health trends and how it's going to disturb the market and how it's going to kind of reframe the market for future. Third thing I'll look at from because this topic is purely a sales topic. I'll talk about the sales the element. Attracting right talent it has become a nightmare for sales, especially for sales. Why? Because in the market, people are not willing to take on a salesman job and go from shop to shop and do all that. So I don't know, as I was discussing with you, Manoshi, sometime at the last time, there is a kind of a myth in the market that the marketeers are at here and the sales is down here, right? So,
and we need to change that in Sri Lanka. I strongly believe in that.
correct,
Your sales
correct.
guys are the ones who are generating revenue for the company, and you really need to take care of your salespeople. Go ahead, I'm
Exactly.
sorry.
So coming on that point is, I think there's a bit of a stigma, and there is some kind of a brand building as we the thought leaders or the senior people in the industry now. We have a responsibility in painting that right picture in the public, in the school leaver's mind, and project the sales capability to the desired status. So this is another big, I would say, a challenge that we are facing in recruiting, because in our time, the guys who come to sales are the sports people and who are coming from very good family backgrounds and who are blessed and who have that the worldly wisdom and that flair. But if you ask me today, if I'm going to recruit a person, it's very hard to find that kind of material. So there is a lot of work that is required in terms of changing that mindset. One, in the minds of working with the schools and the tutorials, and also working with universities and working with professional bodies in making certain curriculums, like what you were working in that day, like what you were sharing. So we have to inculcate those curriculums with the universities as well as professional bodies in building that salesmanship quotient. That capability is a must, and we need to develop that. So these are the three big ticket items, Manoshi, that I see from the industry that I am operating.
Right. And I just want to build on that, Ravi. You bring up a very good point, which as a Sri Lankan, I see as a huge problem in Sri Lanka, especially pertaining to professional selling and sales related functions. There's this stigma that sales is not a job that you want to get into, and therefore not a lot of people want to go in and join companies as salespeople, and thereby we are not able to hire good talent. And the other thing is, like you correctly mentioned, right now we do not have any programs in Sri Lankan universities that focuses on sales, whereas over here in the United States, it started happening a long time ago, and sales became like a major arm within the marketing department. And at my university, we have majors and minors in sales, where we train young kids to become professional salespeople, and we train them on soft skills, questioning, handling objections, spin selling, all those, sales tactics, so that when they graduate, they come with all that training, and companies are really happy with the sales programs, and they're pumping a lot of money into these programs as well, because they can hire at least, talent that is half trained that they can mold with once they recruit to whatever sort of salesperson they want them to be within the company. So that's something that I think needs to develop in Sri Lanka. And I feel like Sri Lankan universities need to take a solid, hard look at this, because there's a big market there. Companies will be very happy to kind of help universities in terms of developing those kind of curriculums. And hopefully one day I might be able to do that and bring my expertise over there. Like PIM, we have a PIM person right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there is one element also, Manoshi, whilst we're trying to take the academic side and then bring the practical element, I think as a business organization has something else also to do, in my personal opinion, is converting this mindset is also comes with the right package, package overall, because otherwise what is in it for those guys when you really kind of do it? They really need to kind of spend a lot of time and energy out there every day. And then if you really look at on their package, it is not that great attractive. So therefore, it's human nature.
Yes.
You can have a great process and a protocol from a education, from a exposure. You can take them to Europe, US, and West, and you tell them how it works. But by and large, you come back and do your normal job, and then you end up with what? So I don't think necessarily it's one-sided. It has to be both ends, because the companies also have to believe the salespeople are and the marketing people are the ones that who kind of generate the revenue. So therefore, it has to be somewhat of a package-driven culture, so that then the next generation after next generation believe sales is a nice place to be. Otherwise, I don't think it will be work. That's my personal opinion. Sorry to take time.
I completely agree. Yes, you have to make sure that they're paid well. And that's one of the key things that companies here look at. They look at like different compensation packages and how that affect their performance. And just from like personal experience, my husband used to work in engineering. I think I shared with you, some of you. He was an engineer who used to accompany salespeople on sales calls. But then he realized that he can make a lot of money in sales, because companies here, they pay their salespeople well. Generally, the successful ones, they really make sure that their salespeople take home a very good compensation package, because that's how you get good talent and keep them. And so in terms of my husband, he realized that in sales, you can make a lot of money. And then he switched to sales, and now he's a sales engineer, and he's doing far better. And I like the fact that companies have realized that, and they make sure that whatever packages that they're offering salespeople are very, very good. And in some companies, if you make your commissions and if you do really well, sometimes you can earn more than the executive level at a company. And those who are doing very well, companies who are doing very well, have those kind of packages, because that's important. I feel that's very important, and you're very correct. People who come into sales are quite money oriented, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So you have to make sure that they offered good packages so that they would perform well and then stay with the company as well. Okay,
And
we're
Manoshi,
kind of
like
going out on a tangent. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to add one thing, Manoshi. The philosophy and the culture of the company should give some priority to salespeople. Some companies, get the revenue and they squeeze them and get all the targets done. When it comes to recognition, giving proper, this thing, I mean, the sales cadre comes maybe third or fourth. But as sales leaders, as general managers, chairman, or board of directors, we'll have to make sure sales recognition, the whole company should orient around the sales team. So if you can make that culture, a lot of youngsters will attract to the sales culture. We always preach that sales should be number one, but we don't execute that in the company.
That's true. That's true. Yes, that's a very important fact too. I'd like to move on to the next question. This is pertaining to COVID. So how has COVID affected your sales functions, and how have you adapted? I'm sure some of the adaptations might be positive, So first of all, how has COVID affected your sales function? And then what are some adaptations that you have done to manage those challenges? Rashmika?
All right. So in the interest of time, I'll make it quite straight to the point.
I'm sorry.
I knew it's going to come our way. So to begin with, a pandemic gave us a lot of learnings, I would say. That being said, from a revenue point of view, it's about 30% revenue that I lost as well. So then we can't just simply give up. As we always believe that we have to be in control of what we are in control of. So we strongly believe the pandemic has given us a different perspective in life. So very briefly, adaptation and check and adjust, and then agility came as very important. So we saw some new opportunities. So opportunities that we saw was like, for example, work from home. So these suits, these jackets no longer required. So that market dipped, but then loose fitting, nice cozy fabric, lifestyle, work from home culture. You put up the whole thing and you end up being in your almost in your like in a night wear, but then it's like more of a lounge and a casual wear. So we saw the opportunity, so we kind of convert that whole product development space, and then we created that whole bubble of saying, hey, work from home, lifestyle, athleisure, at fashion, that whole piece. So the sales targets was gone, right? So I was like wondering how to bring it back, the marketing whole business plan. But that being said, if you create the whole product capsule, which is like the consumers are going to be almost in connection with the current, then automatically we need to find a way to kind of convert this into a good selling pitch. So then we need to use the digital era. That's the only way we could have done it, because of the current restriction of travel or can't meet the customer. So like this format, we've been talking to the leadership, we are talking to it. But then we use something called 3D prototyping, which we did the whole product on a 3D, on a fabric, on a 3D, and then we convert the whole product cycle, shorten the product cycle from 3 months to like in a 3-day window. And then we continuously feed and educate the customer, also the customer end use, like the product developers, the designers, to understand how to play with this. And then in the meantime, what we did was like, we actually, in our industry, we need to touch and feel. If you won't touch and feel, if you don't do it, they don't understand the whole product. We actually went after that, and then we send our normal product development also in the same way. So then kind of customers and the whole product creation center has that ability to change it, say, hey, this is how it's going to look like. These are pattern, these are style, these are design. But in at least in 2 weeks, they have the product. So they can actually feel and touch and then do both. So those are some of the sales tactics that we use, and then some of the attributes that we saw as an opportunity. So as a result, and then I'm so blessed that we have a dynamic marketing business team, because we don't do the sales, we do the marketing and the business. So in that, we managed to kind of claw back the loss of $100 million in a time of 12 months. So we are back again to good old days in 2019, and our business is like touchwood is booming. And then it's now time to execute, and it's time to give the visibility of where we are in terms of product concept to end to end, because then the customers will believe and then change into the consumer. So I'm sure with the vaccination coming into US and North American market, my business will be very lucrative time to come, provided that we do this check and adjust, and then do the most important thing is identify that opportunity that we see, and then action it and be there. So the product shows, like we used to be there and then be there for a week and then show them in physical models and show entire gamut of things. Now that we do it in Sri Lanka, we use the same models, we use the same the spec, we videography the whole thing, and then we actually do it like online, just like this, like YouTube or whatever the format. So it's just like live that they see the newness coming in. So likewise, we never went back because of the COVID. We actually move forward with that, with the technologies that we have, and then futuristically thinking. So that's my story to tell. Like pandemic has given us opportunities, but you need to be great and you need to be really smart to identify the opportunities and then to clutch on with it and then move on with it. You can't just think, okay, it's not going to work, and and also you need to spend a little bit of more money also to also to catch the opportunity. So that's how we see it, and that's my experience.
Got it. Thank you. Aravinda, do you want to talk about how COVID has affected your sales functions?
Yes. Before starting, I would like to give the heads up to my managing director, where when the pandemic was there, when most of the companies start reducing staff, he made a point to have a help desk for all the staff. With closing down the country, people had a lot of financial problems, food and medicine. So as a leader, he initiated everything and he looked after his staff. That is a true leadership. I really appreciate what he has done, and up to now anybody has not lost any of the jobs right now. So managing director, he really wanted to show that most of the companies, they talk about their employees, saying that they are the important stakeholders. But here, our managing director, he proved it in this pandemic.
Yeah.
So
Putting money where your mouth is.
I'm so grateful for him. Yes, and also just like Rashmika told all of us, it was a real eye opener for us. We had 2 showrooms, so instead of reducing staff, what we did was we took out 1 showroom where we had it at the Union Place Access Towers, which had a big overhead. So what we did was we cut down the showroom, and all of us we relocated to 1 showroom. By doing that, we managed to make more profit than the last year. So situationally, we have taken a real a good step where the companies at the moment it's at a very sustainable position. What I would like to say is, yes, it was a real eye opener for us to look into detail and see what are our expenses, unwanted expenses, and whether that expenses is helping the company or not. So we have identified one. So we have a flagship showroom right now, and we are doing better and better. The opportunities are more, and we are making good profits at the moment. So COVID, the pandemic has really opened up eyes. Yes.
All right, thank you for that. Dinesh?
Yeah, I think to COVID, our main challenge was store closures. Go to modern trade, even retail, grocery channel. You can see most of the when the country was fully locked, all the shops were physically closed. But we had to make sure that you need to feed households with the products. So lots of companies who could afford their own e-commerce platform, including us, we started our own e-commerce platform, and we started delivering their own personal care products there doors. Second thing what we did was we strategically tied up with all the e-tailers in the country, starting from Daras to all, and we had some strategic ties, and we came up with some special assortments which every household would need it. Rather than selling it in units, we started assembling big different types of assembled packs, which was a real hit during the COVID time. And lots of companies started door to door lorry selling. Lots of companies went into apartments, went into different streets, and started feeding a household. And we educated retailers how to get orders through online, through WhatsApp. And we had all the curfew passes go into such retailers, and we educated them to get orders from the vicinity and through different routes to dispatch in their smaller village type areas. Through that, all the FMCG companies were able to, even though the stores were physically closed, but all the households were fed. I wouldn't say 100%, but 70 to 50%. And during the COVID time, we were able to, lots of companies were able to get special permission to do deliveries, including the supermarket, including the distributors. They got special, approvals to, we had to, convince the government to get the approval. And third issue that we faced was our, sales force were not mobile to go into shops. A lot of supermarkets said, they are not permitting display staff to get into the supermarket. Sometimes we had the stock in the backyard of the supermarket, but not in the shelf. So it was a huge challenge. Shoppers were complaining stocks are not there, but stocks were actually in the backyard. So we had to use special, telephone, based, mechanisms to get the stock into the shelf and, make sure our sales are there. And second, the first situation was how to manage the severe out of stock situation. Because sometimes we had the production, sometimes we had zero stock. So company had to go through a very professional, timely, professionally, systematically driven allocation system where, additional stock is not, pumping to different retailers or different customers. So we had to make sure all the customers are properly managed with the limited stocks. So we had some, warehouse level allocation, customer-wise allocations, and make sure the limited stock is properly distributed. And another thing was how to, get the collection. So no, we can't run without the collection because we had to pay our, banks on time. So get the collection from retail and modern trade was a real challenge. So we had to, the unutilized staff, which we couldn't, patronize into retail level for displays and merchandising. We got them to, get into routes and, speed up the collection process. Especially modern trade, we'll have to, track invoice by invoice and make sure all the delays are not there from our end. So we were able to collect some good payments on time to, especially during the COVID time, run the working capital of the companies, because cash was the real, asset at that time. Without cash, we couldn't run. So I think most of the companies, manage it perfectly to hibernate the situation.
Thank you. Ravi?
Yeah, I think the COVID situation, as all is mentioned, it was a learning curve to all of us. And even at Prima, we had a major learning curve with a lot of disruption. But we being one of the second biggest staple food in the country, and we have a commitment to the country to provide and secure the national food security, because if our basic ingredient is not available, I think many industries would have crippled, or they would have got a lot of challenges. So I think it was a mixed year. In certain areas, there were a lot of big gains, but in certain areas there were certain drawbacks. So especially the drawbacks came from the areas of bakers as well as the Horeca outlets. These are all these small shops which serve all the rotis and hot rotis and all that. Now, because of the pandemic, this entire segment came into a standstill, and the footfalls came down dramatically. Now, without those being operated, it's a lost sale. On the other hand, we saw the silver line. Silver line was, we found as the consumers were trying to be at home, and then they were trying to kind of get at their normal flour. And so we found a surge in the demand for the household flour variants. So that we were able to kind of capitalize it using uninterrupted supply to all our the channels. Apart from that, we also looked at new go-to-market models like the e-commerce platforms, and we ourselves developed an e-commerce platform for in case if they want flour or chicken or any of our the products that what we sell. We also had our own e-commerce platform. Now, I think the biggest the learning is in the adoption to the technology. So like what happened in 2001 to China when SARS came in, I think the similar kind of stuff, it was compulsory learning happened even for Sri Lankans who were not IT savvy, for them to become IT savvy. Now, recently, I was in a grassroots town. Now, every the person is talking about online learning and online education, etc. So it has come to that. So we as a company also dealing from at different stratas of the society, grassroots level, a baker kind of an environment, to a sophisticated biscuit manufacturers like Munchie and Melbourne. And so those are the top 10 customers. So when we deal with all that strata at different levels, I think the automation and digitization helped us a lot in terms of staying alive and staying ahead of the curve, I would say. And to do that, our biggest help was our Salesforce automation. Because we have built a Salesforce automation and we had all the information on our fingertips, and my demand for my team was all about key customer management. So it was the 80-20 law. like, so 20% customers give us 80% sales. And once we looked after all these high throughput customers, automatically your bulk of your sale is assured, and then our, the base was secured. So that's how we like in a very agile way got ourselves geared up to this the COVID situation.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing all of that. I think we covered the last two questions during our discussion. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to skip those two. I'd like to thank all of you again very sincerely for taking time to join this panel session today. I know it went a little bit longer than what we expected. Thank you for your patience. And thank you so much for representing Sri Lanka here. This will be one of the country panel sessions that will be included in the Global Sales Science Institute. And Sri Lanka being a very small country, I'm just happy to be there as a country. And it's very nice to chat to some very experienced people from various different companies that can talk competently about how professional selling and sales happens in Sri Lanka and how that's different from the rest of the world. So thank you again, gentlemen, for taking the time to attend today's session. And I look forward to seeing all of you, hopefully one day when I visit Sri Lanka. I wish you all the very best with your future endeavors. Take care.
Thank you very much, Manoshi.